So good afternoon, everyone. This is Sanjeev, and I'm the co-founder and director at Enabling World. It's a boutique HR consulting firm, and I'm your host today. I'm very excited to welcome, first of all my experts for a very interesting session on financial well-being. And there's a question that we have kept here that should organizations really worry about the personal finances and financial well-being of employees? Is it something that they should really worry about, or should we leave it to employees to manage their own? So there's a debate sometimes in our mind. So that's an interesting topic we are going to talk about. And to share their expertise and experiences and wisdom, we have three very eminent experts here from diverse fields, actually, which will make the whole discussion very interesting. To start with, let me welcome, first of all, Dr. Ankita. Dr. Ankita Singh. Thank you, Dr. Ankita, for joining. I know you are, it's a very busy schedule for you. So thanks for carving out time and to sharing your insights on this interesting topic. Just to introduce her, it's a very long introduction, but I'll keep it very short for today. She is Chief People Officer with Signex Datamatics, and she's doing a huge transformation work that I know in the organization for many, many years that she has been with the organization. And she has been very visible in public space. She has been chosen as the Women Leader of the Year by Times of India, and she has been nominated as the top 100 managers by Forbes. And she's an MBA and she has done a PhD in management. So huge, rich profile. And we'll love, thank you for very much for joining us today. And we'll love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And you're joining from Ahmedabad, right? Correct.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have Surya. Surya is a, hi Surya, thanks for joining in. He's from Delhi, and he is a chartered accountant. So I was joking with him that he's the most qualified person in the finances, at least amongst the people that I know. He is a chartered accountant, but he's founded his organization called Asset Managers. So he advises individuals and SMEs on their finances and investment and asset management. He has been hosting the, some TV channels, TV shows actually, Bloomberg TV, right, Surya?
Yeah,
is that
that's
correct?
right, yeah.
He was doing that, and he is a regular, writing in the various articles in Hindustan Times and various medias as well, right? And he's very, very knowledgeable. I know we have done, I've seen some of his sessions. He's extremely knowledgeable and he understands the corporate employee financial well-being very well. So thank you, Surya, for joining me today.
Thank you.
All right. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Sunanda. Dr. Sunanda is a medical doctor. So we have two doctors. One is a PhD doctor and second one is a medical doctor. And she was, she's a global manager for wellness at Unilever. And she was earlier the medical director at Dr. Reddy's Labs. And so she comes from a medical profession, but she's hugely interested in the corporate employee wellness field. So I think she brings a lot of connection of the, the medical science and the wellness and the corporate. So she brings both together. And as we understand, there is a connection in the financial well-being affects our mental and physical well-being as well. I think she's going to unpack some of it for us. Thank you, Dr. Sunanda, for joining in. And she's joining from Rajamundry, right? That's a manufacturing unit for Unilever. Thank you very much.
Hello again.
All right, and with me, I have my partner Sushil also in the team in the session today. He's joining from Bangalore. So let's get on with this topic. Before I do that, brief introduction about Enabling World. Just a minute. So Enabling World, we are celebrating our 11th year, and this is a company that was started. It's a boutique HR consulting firm, and we have interests in HR consulting, leadership and talent development. DI is a big focus for us in last, I would say, 3-4 years, and also employee well-being. We do very selective outsourcing services as well. So that's a very brief introduction about us. I'm today speaking from Delhi, and Sushil is from Bangalore. So that's just a very brief introduction about us. All right, so let's get into the topic straight away. So we have received some questions from people who are participating from different places. I'll pick up some of those and some I've thought of myself, and we'll keep a free-flowing session. So, expert panelists, sometimes you will feel a lot of comments in the chat, some questions. So feel free to comment while we are talking, about the subject directly. Okay, so first of all, Surya, let me start from you. Uh, financial well-being, it's a term that we all know and we are talking about employees in particular, right? Employees' financial wellness, but otherwise also in general. But can you, in a very simple terms, explain to us what does it mean, right? I mean, we all understand, but from an expert, just unpack it so that we are at the same page.
I think to start the discussion on the financial well-being of employees, I think that's the basic crux of today's generic discussion. What exactly is financial wellness or well-being? It is actually only a state of mind which needs to be created with your financial well-being in such a manner that are you comfortable enough to manage your expenses and pay your debts off, meet any financial contingencies you may have, emergencies you may have, and at the same time, can you also plan for your long-term financial goals? So now all this has to be met reasonably comfortable. If you stretch yourself while you are financial, I think well-being, but you may be missing something because you don't know what kind of contingencies come in your play, how the longevity of your goals may be affected because of inflation or for other reasons or some unexpected expenses which may come across your way. So doing that simple maths, and all of us coming from a corporate background, the corporate sector, understand that part of the balance sheet. What you need to do is to create your own personal balance sheet. And that's what we have seen many people, even senior management, if I say so, in this audience, senior management also lacking, that you don't end up doing your own personal balance sheet. You know your numbers well, but are those numbers enough to meet your liabilities? Are those assets enough to take care of expenses, be it a current liability or be it a future liability? So all these things come together, and that's what your net worth and your, more importantly, cash flow is important. You may have assets, but do you have money in hand is what matters to us. Because we have actually seen instances where people are very heavy on assets, but poor on money. And when I say money, I mean cash over here. So therefore, a combination of all the assets put together, managing your liabilities with the cash in hand is something we all need to take care of.
Thank you. I think that's a great start. So just a follow-up question from you. You mentioned even senior managers, senior leaders, sometimes you feel they mismanage their finances. They're not able to manage it very well. And sometimes maybe a junior person is able to do it very well. In your experience, because you must be counseling a lot of people day to day, is there a pattern that senior people are able to manage it better, or it is the young professional, they're not able to manage it better? It is just a personal choice. I mean, do you see a trend there?
See, we cannot call it as a trend, but what happens is that in case of a senior management, even if they take a little bit of goof up on their planning, if I use that word, they are able to come back and recoup it very fast because they do have little deep pockets. Let's put it this way, vis-a-vis a junior management. So they can come back and come back faster. While we always talk about compounding everything, that money earns money, is all that is understandable. But when you have an extra pot of money, that really helps you. So they're able to recover faster. It is not that they're doing a great job, but it doesn't mean all of them are in the same boat. But there is, I think, a reasonable percentage which actually don't end up doing it, thinking that they have enough at the back. But most of us actually miss out the problem of what inflation can bring to the table. Because something which was, let's say, 10 years back from a price perspective, in today's time is totally different. It could be anything. Just take a simple example of, let's say, of cars. My average purchase price of a car has gone up by 57%. And that's
over
the
how
last
many?
7 years.
7 years. Wow. Okay.
That's not small number.
Okay, got it. I think thanks for starting that discussion on a very firm note on what does it mean. So, Dr. Sunanda, question to you. I mean, you are, a global manager for wellness at such a great organization, the Unilever. In your experience, what are you seeing as a trend? How does this financial well-being affects the mental well-being or overall being, physical well-being? Is there a connection or it is just a financial well-being? What's your experience? What trend are you seeing?
Sanju, it's definitely connected because
Okay.
even by definition, when health means it's a complete state of not just the physical health, it's mental health and social well being. When it comes
Mm,
to that, it's an holistic approach where social well being leads with many things. Nowadays, in past, the mental health or mental well being not was considered, it was not considered that important. It was when we speak of health, it was just the physical part where it's
mm,
we talk about illness, disease, the medical stuff. But now, particularly after the COVID, last 3 years or 4 years, we hear a lot of mental well-being, being stressed at workplaces as well, in every aspect. When mental well-being is stressed, when we talk about mental well-being and social well-being, definitely finances come into part. That's the major part. When we talk about well-being, all we hear is stress. We talk stress comes in various forms, and I say financial is one of the thing. We like mentioned earlier, Surya has mentioned, it's not about how much we make, but how well we manage,
mm.
right? So financial plays a crucial role in health and well-being of an employees. That should be
Correct.
considered very seriously as we consider health and the other illness as well. Physical health, I meant to say physical health, mental health, and this has to be considered as equal importance, because financial well-being is nothing but planning, uh, health planning. Let's put it in that way. Health budgeting. When it
Correct.
Because
Correct.
being a medical doctor, I want to focus on this area where where does this financial comes into place. Let's say one major medical event happens and everything collapses, right?
Mm.
And it's always related to budgeting and
So tell,
finance.
so tell me, Dr. Sananda, I mean, I'm sure most of the organizations, progressive organizations have EAP services nowadays, right? I
Yes.
mean, do you see pattern where people approach the EAP service or counseling services because of financial stress? Do you see those instances?
Yes, of course. EAP
Okay,
is a variety of
correct.
services that provides. It's
Hmm.
not just the mental illness, but these sort of things where you have a newborn and you are unable to cope it, and EAP is the right choice. For
Okay.
anything, you have changed a job and you're not able to manage it, EAP is there to provide us services. So definitely, I could say there are people who would call EAP for financial advisors, financial planning, and the stress that comes out and how to go about it. I
Mm.
definitely say that people, particularly employees, use these services from the EAP as well.
As well. In fact, I was
Yes.
reading a recent report, not very recent, in 22 by Deloitte. It was talking about the stress is the reason, the causation of the stress is, and the workplace related stress was the number one, but second was the financial stress actually.
Financial.
And this was
That's
22
right.
when the COVID was, I mean, was there, people were affected by that, but at least it was the number two reason for people who are facing stress, and financial stress was one of the contributing factor. That was the number two one, which was an eye opener for me. So that means it is not talked so much, but still ignored quite a bit, but it's a significant part, looks like, right?
That's right. And we do encourage our employees to contact EAP or any sort of, if they have the financial, we do encourage them, we educate them. Like
All
we
right.
educate them, you should be open with mental illness, mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We encourage them to talk, right? So the same way, we do encourage in our organization to utilize this EAP services if you have the financial
Wonderful.
necessity as well. Yes.
Wonderful. Dr. Ankita, coming over to you, I mean, in your role as a board member, as a senior leader in the organization and a very progressive organization, what's the business case for organizations to take care of the personal finances of people or getting into financial well-being? I mean, why should organizations worry about it? That's a debate, right? So your comment on that.
I think, Sanjeev, like both of our members mentioned, it is all linked, right? We all have heard if you have valued employees in the system, they are engaged employees, right?
Mhm.
And at the same time, if you have financially balanced employees, they come up with a resilient organization. Whenever we, I mean, just a number, if I may say,
Sure.
when we do exit interviews, right? And I think it happens in most of the organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Employees may say that I'm leaving because of a better role or because of relocation. There could be multiple reasons, but when you look at the percentage, it is 80% or probably higher than that when they say I'm getting a better pay somewhere outside. And it's not that the work culture is a problem or manager or a role is not challenging. It's just that with every passing year, the financial obligation or probably the dependency has also gone up. And to match up, like as we say, we are all living in present. When you talk about financial, people are actually not aware what happened in the past and how well they are equipped. I would say awareness is a bigger problem, that we say that we will do when we reach there, or this is what we've been thinking about, or this is what we want to do.
Live in the moment. Live in the
Right.
moment.
Right. But we are actually not sure. I may want to buy a car in next 3 years, but what do you want to do with other factors?
Mm.
Personally, professionally, people fairly we don't have a um, plan on a blackboard. We don't know what we are talking about. We are just planning. But if you say, there's a flow chart, probably that's missing. Now, how important it is for the organization when you talk about employee productivity and engagement, or if you talk about workplace distraction or employee loyalty or advocacy, all these get impacted if at all a person is financially not stable. Well-being is important because only when you know that you would be able to manage rest of the things, you would be able to give your percentage to each and everything that has been identified for the day. Otherwise, throughout the day, probably you're just worrying about something, as in how to take care of it. So I think when you link organization, and that's the reason earlier, like we just heard, before COVID or after COVID, everybody started talking about mental wellness. People are working from home. How will they cope up? But I don't think we literally talked about financial well-being. Nobody spoke
Mm.
about it. We do not
True.
have committees. We do not have employee assistance programs everywhere. We do not have a HR team or any other team worked on flexible compensation and benefits or financial wellness tools, or where all salary advance or emergency funds can be included. These are a lot of factors where we can help employees as and when needed. We can create those platforms where they can openly come and talk about it, so that probably beyond their CTC, we cannot every single day sit with them and plan, but we always have a platform for them to come and ask and seek required support wherever it's needed. So I
So
think
what do
I
you do? So what do you do? I mean, extending, thank you very much for your insight, but just asking you, what do you do as, if you can share as an organization, do you conduct, for example, financial planning sessions for the youngsters, especially because sometimes they may not know for them or people at different life stages or career stages, right? People maybe before retirement, they are scared about what will they do after retirement. So do you conduct as an organization those sessions for employees?
Absolutely. So we have financial education programs, as in,
Okay.
when we talk about tax, how it is impacting their salary, what should they select, what should they not select. Then we have employee assistance program where we counsel one to one, and which is obviously external, as in as well as internal people. Where you can openly discuss your financial challenges or budget or set financial goals for yourself, where you get to hear from experts. They may give you inputs. Decision is obviously you along with your
Yours.
family, you
It's a
decide.
tricky area sometimes because sometimes
True.
when you're doing these sessions, sometimes you want to be cautious that you're not selling any particular product or you're not recommending any particular financial
Absolutely.
product because you're just educating. So it's a little tricky area for organizations to get into, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sanjeev. And that's the reason it has to be more generic. Because, see, when you sit at home and you discuss that whether we need to buy a car or a house, probably they would say that this is what is needed. And somebody from a neutral approach would understand, where are you financially? Where do you see yourself? Before, like we use Google Map, we know where we are standing and where we want to go and what all will
True.
come in between. That assessment has to be done by somebody who's external. So beyond a point, I don't think employees also open up, but you have somebody who will, without judging, probably give you a few inputs. So that's what we do in assistance program. And as it says, it is assistance. It is not counseling. It is not any guidance as such. We just tell you what you want to understand, or we help you with a better understanding of financial tools and your goal setting. Similarly, we have introduction of compensation and benefits. We have made those options in be it flexi work, which I think a lot of organizations are doing, remote work opportunities and all. Then we have financial tools. We have our own intranet, which is homegrown. We have linked those where we can, where employees can use their financial planning apps, saving
Okay.
goals, investment strategies, so they can see how they have performed, what was the
Wow.
plan, where they have reached. And we take our emergency fund and salary advance very seriously. We do not have a said policy, but I think we have a very open room, or I would say a group, which would come and say that this is the case that we have received. We go through that particular case, we understand how urgent or how authentic it is, and wherever needed, we always have parked an emergency fund, and
That's a great.
where
I
we
mean,
use.
I remember I started working in 85, as long as 85. And this time the house loan or the loans used to be a very prominent employee benefit, right? In the organizations, the loan schemes used to be there. No more, because today financial institutions like banks, etc., they extend loans. So companies have gone away from that over a period, right? Because you go and take loan from any financial institution and companies don't get into that. But that used to be the a trend earlier when these loans, etc., were not available easily. But I'm very happy that you're doing so much for the employee benefit and carefully done, not doing randomly, but based on the need. So that's a great thing. I wish if there is a vacancy, can I apply now?
But that's the reason, Sanjeev, we said that we have not put that as a policy. Otherwise, everybody would come. But we have a
So
committee.
you're saying no. You're saying no. Okay, I'm not applying. Don't worry.
No, please, please come and join.
All right. No, no, thank you very much. So, Surya, coming to you, I was reading a report where it says that the difference in financial literacy, a person who is highly financial literate versus person who is financially, illiterate, I would use this term, the impact is huge in terms of, a person, the amount of time they spend planning on their finances. In a week, they can spend as high as 8 to 10 hours thinking about it, worrying about it, planning for it, right? And so the risk factor is much high with the same financial status, but it's just the literacy part. It makes a huge difference. Now, the question is, if it is so important, then who is the onus of educating our population, right? Youngsters, our employees, or population in general? Does it start from the family? Because I don't think in education system there's a financial planning, personal financial planning courses or education given, right? Organizations are doing, some progressive organizations like Signex, etc. They may be doing it, right, on random basis. There's some public media available, information available, but whose responsibility it is? How do we educate our population? What's your guidance?
See, there are no easy answers on this, Sanjeev, because at every stage of life, there is a guide for you. You have to find who is available and who suits you well and who you end up believing.
Mm-hmm.
And it need not be a kind of a just follow, not kind of a herd mentality, huh? So, for example, when you are young, you are growing up, you listen to your parents, to your family, to your seniors. So that's what they say. When you grow up, your father, your mother are your philosopher, your guide, and they actually get embedded in you. You may end up meeting in your journey more bright people, okay? More intelligent people. I'm sorry to say this, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
fact. And we will all end up, this is true with every one of us. But because that was a time when I was getting molded into a individual, into a responsible citizen, I still believe them as the demigods for us. That's how the Indian society works for us. I still believe my father, likewise for you, someone, most of us will actually believe that what we got to learn from them is actually embedded in you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that may be right and wrong, I don't know. That's your good luck or bad luck. But as you go on the journey and with your experiences, with your learnings, everyone tries to teach you from their bad experiences. And that's what our job is. Can we understand from our parents or if we are working in a corporate, former employees, or we can ask them to please help us in these sessions, help us to train better, help us to make a better person to understand finances.
Mhm.
And likewise, when you meet your friends, when you meet the friends in your friend circle, you have to get all the right things. And now that depends on you as a person, what you can catch and capture and use it to your advantage. And now, see, you have a social media. Every one of us complains about it, okay? That it gives us, everyone is on the mobile, on the laptop, or whatever it may be. But can we also use it to our advantage? Everything is available. What we need to know, are we really going for the right information? Is we need to really plan and think on that.
Mhm.
But if we have in the right direction, I think the information is available aplenty. And that's also a problem now. As you also started in your discussion
Over
saying,
information is also,
over
you don't know what.
information.
And
So
Sonia,
dissecting that information is also a big challenge.
and the problem is because as a citizen, sometimes so too many people coming, oh, we have some saving scheme. They may have a good intention, but sometimes I may think, oh, he must be selling something, or he or she must be selling something. So you put a shield around. So too much of people approaching you, sometimes you don't know what is right or wrong. So that becomes an issue,
You know,
actually.
I put it a little differently on this, Sanjeev. What I say is, no scheme is a bad scheme. No investment is bad investment. Why will a manufacturer do something which is not good? Okay. 99%, I will not say it 100%. But what we need to see is, will that scheme suit me, suit my profile? See, for example, HUL manufactures everything under that FMCG basket. But will everything is what I need? Answer is no. So I have to buy, I have to see what I need to buy for myself, but suits my requirement. And that's where the education needs to come into play. Do I need to buy instrument A, B, or C? Because till I don't have that education, I don't know what to pick. I may end up picking A, but actually what I need is C. So how will I know the difference between the A and B and C? And that's what education comes. That's where you need to get skill yourself about.
So we all have to focus, or people around us, in families, in our corporate place, wherever we feel, do extensive education program. At least that's a basic thing. If we can do, we can reduce the impact, right? The negative impact of financial stress for the people, isn't it? That's what it
That's
looks
right.
like. All right. Now, one question to everyone, and maybe Sunanda, you or Dr. Ankita, you can answer that. Today, we are seeing a trend because if you're in a formal sector, employees are there. There are certain schemes that organizations have, right, which covers social security to some extent. I mean, you have your, you know, uh, life insurance cover, accident policies, medical policies, right? So far, so you're working, you're reasonably covered. Especially, I'm talking about the corporate or the formal sector. Right now, I'm talking about that, isn't it? But there's a new trend which is coming up, that startups are coming up, people are becoming gig workers. They said, I want to be independent, right? And young at stage, they don't want to get committed to an organization. They have a specialized skill and they say, I can work for 5 companies at a time. I'll do as I wish, right? So that is picking up. What is the risk that you're seeing for such population, which is growing actually? And I think that's going to be more and more. I mean, it's going to increase in my view. That's what I'm reading the trends about. What do you think is the risk for such working population, which are all by themselves, about their coverage? I mean, so Dr. Sunanda, do you have any comment on that? And
Yes,
Dr. Ankita,
yes.
I will request your comment as well. Okay.
Be it you're working in corporate or a government sector or in per se any other sector, everyone should have, to my personal opinion, everyone should have a financial planning, personal financial planning. That is
Mm-hmm.
a must.
Mm-hmm.
Even, let me put this example. Even in the companies, manufacturing companies, bigger companies, apart from the on-roll employees, if we have a contract employee who's working for few months, the company definitely asks for a financial insurance,
Mm-hmm.
health insurance to be specific, because that is really very important. Even though the employee is working for a short stint, be it 3 months, 2 months, or 4 months, 5 months, this personal finance is really important. Health insurance is really important. So, like you mentioned, now the freelancers, if I may
Hmm.
put in that way.
Yeah, gig work,
And
whatever you
they
can
are
call
work-
it. Yes.
Yeah, it's very good that they're working in multiple places to make more gigs, but they should definitely have a planning. Like Surya and Ankita also mentioned, it's not about how much we make, it's how we manage our assets or financial, that plays a major role, right? Our CTC might be very high, but if our budget planning or the financial planning is not up to the mark, we might crumble, because we have seen major companies, major stakeholders who have made profitable, immense profits have crumbled down.
Mhm.
So it's always comes to budget planning, financial planning.
Yeah,
Financial planning
but the
is really
challenge,
important.
Dr. Sunanda, challenge will be, yes, it is important, and I see
Yes.
a greater risk because sometimes they may have work, they may not have work, and then they don't have any coverage insurance. So someone has to tell them. I mean, it has to be. So that's the challenge, because sometimes, and many of these are youngsters, right? So I don't know. I mean, some of them are very smart in terms of managing their finances. So I'm not saying they're not smart, but some of them may not be knowing. So we'll have to be cautious around that. So Dr. Ankita, I mean, what trend do you see? Do you see this as a risk, that, a lot of gig workers, youngsters coming into workforce and they're not into formal sector? Do you see a higher exposure, or do you think the youngsters are much wiser and they're taking care of their finances and insurances very well? What's your take?
No, Sanjeev, I agree to your point number two. I think they are much more advanced and aware. If at all, I look at myself or what I was probably 15 years back, I had no clue of my financial arrangement.
High five, high five. I'll tell you, did not have even financial advisor. I had to
Right.
appoint one to put my things on track. I can tell you this.
So be it, I think YouTube or online knowledge or these 14 or 30 seconds reels, what everybody keeps going throughout the day. I think people are much more aware. And when we are talking about gig trend, I don't think that's going down anywhere closer. I think there'll be more people joining this
Yes.
trend. And at the same time, when people are responsible, they know that skill set wise they're upgrading themselves, they're taking care of multiple jobs. At the same time, they are equally aware and equally responsible for their and their family's health, the overall ecosystem, I would say. So I believe that's not a pain area. People will be able to address it well. And we have so many people working with us. And when we go ahead with the survey, I particularly believe that the current generation, they are much more organized and structured as far as their security assurance is concerned.
So we should not, I mean, unduly worry too much about it, right?
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
should
I'll
learn
tell
from
you,
it,
I'll,
actually.
I'll tell you, I mean, it's a personal thing, but I'm sharing for, it may help. My son stays in Singapore, so I was visiting him after 5 years. So he said, I'm going to meet someone from insurance company. I said, oh, what insurance? He said, it's an insurance against unemployment. I said, oh, I'm an HR person, but tell me more about it. He said, no, it's very common because the economy is such today. I'm going to take an insurance cover which will take care of my expenses, my living in case I don't have a job for some time. And he's doing fairly well. So, I mean, he said, but I want to go for it. I said, wow. I said, I would have never thought about it. But I'm asking you, Surya, I mean, do you have such instruments available in India where you can cover against your unemployment, or as a gig worker, you did not get a job? Is there some scheme like that available? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. So unfortunately, we don't have that kind of option in India. I
No?
think the only one small window you carry is meant for the people, or actually for the blue-collared people who are covered in the ESI,
Correct. That
where
we
you
know.
actually get covered under this scheme called as Rajiv Gandhi Shramik Kalyan Yojana. I think that's what the scheme is called.
Mhm.
But that's not meant for self-employed. That's meant only for people under the ESI. And there also you have so many limitations because the base salary is very low. They cover you for up to 2 years, where they pay you 50% of your basic wage for the first year, and then 25% for the second year. But you have to minimum have worked in that company or wherever you are doing your job for at least 3 years to be eligible for that. So the amounts are very small, but at least something is there, but not for the corporate world.
Okay.
But this is also by the government of India. This is not by any private insurance or any insurance company per se.
Mhm. All right. So, Surya, I mean, since you're talking, but you know, today the role of financial advisor, I mean, although it's your profession and we are not, guys, I mean, we are not recommending anyone. We are just discussing right now here. But the role of a financial advisor, personal financial advisor, right? I'll tell you, I personally benefited. I'm telling myself, but what do you see is the trend? Is it becoming a trend that you have a doctor, your physician, you have a financial advisor? Is it becoming a norm, or people are able to manage themselves? What is the trend that you're seeing?
See, the trend is definitely it's picking up the
Mm-hmm.
advisory business. You really see more people coming and reaching out to you to understand how to manage and control their money in a better manner,
Mm-hmm.
to get an idea about how things work around. And as you grow from a money perspective, this was not true earlier, but this is I think more than a decade now, where let's say a person of reasonable wealth, and that is very, very discretionary, very rational, can't describe
True.
that number. But
Money is
otherwise,
never money is never enough.
it's never enough.
Mm.
Um, is the fact that you even find people hiring more than one advisors also, because they want to have
Just to cross check.
no. That's what they say. It's actually to get different flavors. So, for example, let's say if I come with a certain school of thought, certain mindset, they also want to have a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they eventually, and some people even go ahead and have 3 or 4 advisors. There I'm talking about very big numbers, and where they actually appoint another advisor to control the remaining advisors. So the different set of people who control or managed in different manner. But yes, the trend is definitely catching up. In the younger generation, we don't see that trend. In the Gen Z kind of a population, we don't see that trend coming up. But yes, as you come towards your the middle level, let's say we're talking about an age band of around 35 and above, it's really, really coming up in a big way.
All right. Okay, so I think yes, I think we have to be cautious, because sometimes you're putting all your investments and money in someone's hand, so you have to be careful who you're talking to, right? So, but certainly that's a trend which is picking up. So, coming to the corporate, Dr. Ankita, you and Sunanda, if you can also comment on how can organizations help? One is the advice, Dr. Ankita, that you are mentioning, right? You provide counseling services or advisory services, if not counseling, and then education to employees at different levels, or give them some exigency loans wherever needed. But what about the with the salary that people are getting? Uh, how can we plan it in such a way that it is more tax efficient? People are able to get more out of the same salary, right? So what are the trends that you're seeing, and what are, maybe if you can share your examples, what you're doing about it?
See, when people join, I think tax slab or implications, I think people are very much aware of, where they can do what. And at the same time, when you get assistance, a timely assistance is nothing but additional input, additional information that how it can be managed. With the salary bracket at max, the organization, see, because you would never, a person like somebody just mentioned, money is never enough, right? You want to
Yeah.
earn more, and every time you get x amount, nobody would say, you know what, this is what I wanted, and next year I can skip my appraisal because I have enough. Next year again we would be saying that we have 10 more things to manage, so can it be considered, and can I get good money, because so much gets deducted because of tax and all. I believe in addition to awareness and some assistance, there's not much that the organization would be able to contribute directly. You can always tell them that if this is what you do, probably you will be in a better state. Beyond that, at personal level, I think we've been talking about Gen Z, Y, or anybody for that matter. But I believe generalization sometimes become difficult. You will meet a lot of youngsters with amazing planning, and at the same time, you will meet a lot of baby bloomers, and they'd say, I do what I have to do. So it completely depends, and no generic policy or no generic process, if shot out in the organization and it's common for all, would help.
Hmm. Surya, any comment? And Sunanda, in case you have any comment on view on the how the compensation or benefits can be planned in a way that it takes care of the the issues of financial stress of the employees in some way. Surya, I mean, you must be, I mean, you're a financial expert, so you must be advising a lot of organizations like that. So any thought from you?
See, going forward, we'll all be coming into the concept of, if you talk from a tax planning perspective, into this new tax regime.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of time, I think, where we are all headed towards it. I think next few years, we are gradually moving in that direction, where all these JFM, as we call it in our parlance, that this January, February, March month, where people end up going for saving their taxes, and all these investment companies rushing to their customers, their prospective clients for selling insurances or any other product in the market, will be thing of the past. But till the time it's there, you can actually choose between the old tax regime and the new tax regime. And till the time you have the old tax regime, you do have an option for doing your planning from a tax saving, which could be under any of this section 80C head, and including your NPS. So NPS is something which is catching up fast and coming up in a big way. We expect and we do believe, fingers crossed, that this budget will actually have something on the anvil on the NPS, from a change perspective, where they will give it more, make it more attractive to the employees, to the customers, and some more tax efficiency will bring to the table. Because it's also come from the fact why we say this is because many states are not comfortable with adopting NPS. So to really make that attractive option, I think NPS will be a little more lucrative to many, I think, corporates, and then the employees can look forward for it, because still the participation has been low. So besides the tax efficiency it's offer, it also gives you a very low cost product and create something like a 401k product you have in US and other global markets. So something on that matter, I think people should start look as a retirement planning for that. But we also always say, while you do take care of your tax planning, tax efficiency, but that should be all incidental. Okay. It should not be done at the cost of your cash flows. I cannot go ahead and buy a 10-year insurance if I need money in the next 3 years from now, just to save that few thousands buck in my pocket. So that's where we say, look at more planning in the longer picture. And I was just answering one of the in the chat, just answering to, I think, one of the queries that someone comes to us for selling insurance. What do we do about it? So from that perspective, I think the fault lies at our end. We need to make sure that we do the planning start of the year and not end of the year. So assuming you're doing it end of the year now, okay, we can do that. The year has gone by, so can't do much. But then make sure you also do simultaneously for start of the next year also. I'm already in the month of Jan end. If I plan now for this fiscal ending March, I can better start planning for year starting April. And that's something you start doing, because what it also helps you, the fact is the matter that then your income starts earning income, which means your compounding starts coming to you. Because the early you start investing, instead of delaying by another year from today, that small money can really help to you to go a long way in compounding your money. It's a very small amount, but as you do it for the next 10, 15, 20 years, depending on everyone's age and profile, it really helps.
And you're saying, I mean, early in the year, but early in the career also. I mean, life, we have to start. We have to start
early
early.
in the year, early in the career, start early. I think that's what really, really makes a big difference.
So, Dr. Sunanda, just a question that was coming to my mind. We do talk about, I mean, I keep hearing, and it's not my version. We keep hearing women are not good at managing finances. Their financial literacy is low and poor, right? So, and I laugh at it sometimes because in my view, my wife will do the financial planning without even an Excel or calculator, but she would know this time we have spent more or less. It is there in the head. They're much more planner. But in your view, in reality, and Dr. Ankita, you can also, give your perspective on what do you think are, women employees I'm particularly talking about, how good are they at, their financial planning? Do you see more issues from men coming versus women? Just intrigued to know this from you.
Even I laugh at that, Sanjay, because I think what the statement that you've said was pretty much a decade ago. We could say that women didn't have the financial planning. But now I think women are pretty much smarter, and they make their own financial budgeting for everything. And they're not less. And I think we've seen even the corporates, women empowerment is a lot. that has increased. We have seen women in CEO positions, financial advisors, and in every aspect. So I definitely think women are smarter. I mean, it's not gender-based, but to the question that you asked, I think
Financial planning in general, employees,
yes.
I mean, do you see a trend? Do they need more assistance, or do you think they are quite well smart
No,
and able to
everyone need
manage?
assistance, but it's yes, they have become smarter through the ages because, like I said, it's if you're talking about 5 year, 10 years earlier, women really didn't know much about the financial budgeting. If we need to buy a car, we had to approach,
Ask your father,
ask
your brother,
father or
can I
brother
buy
or
this?
someone. But now
Okay,
it's not the case. I
it's not
think
the case. I'm happy to hear that if you see
yes,
that.
definitely.
Dr.
Because like
Ankita,
Ankita has mentioned, even during the induction program, we do have this financial assistant program, tax savings
hmm,
and all the financial thing. Even in the induction, before we join in a company, we do take those steps and we assist them in financial budgeting and planning according to whatever that suits,
okay,
and we have become smarter.
great. I mean, I'm happy to hear that. Dr. Ankita, realistically, what's your view on the ground? Do you see it's not a concern anymore, or it still is a concern in reality? What do you see?
I think you will meet a lot of men and they would have no clue what they are doing with their finances.
Hmm.
And similarly, I would say even today, there are a lot of women and they would not have any clue for that matter. I think it's more because of the exposure and awareness. A lot of us have got exposure, but we are not aware. If you ask me today, there could be 100 things that I'm still not aware, and I may go to my dad for some of his inputs or to my friends, and that probably would happen or must be happening for a lot of us regardless of gender. But if you tell me the perception, has it changed? I think yes, it has changed a bit because a lot of women are now working and they have taken charge of their finances. Even they may consult few people, but they will take the final decision. In corporate, if you ask me, in your organization, do you see that disbalance even now? I don't see that. I think we have people from everywhere coming with their reasonable questions, and it's not primarily with women anymore.
Very, very happy to get this reaffirmation. I mean, I had same views also, but we keep hearing such things actually. I think so. I think it is important to negate that. And Surya, I mean, let me ask you also, because you're also in the cross different kind of industry in society. In and don't say emotionally because we have to say it is right thing to say, but in reality, do you see that happening that women are, there is no difference now, women are or girls are equally smart in managing their finances? Do you see still a concern?
No, absolutely not on this, Sanjeev.
Great.
There's no concern on this. It's just that we find women coming up in a big, big way. Over the
Hmm.
last few years, things are only getting better on a day-to-day basis. And I think it should even get better from here with the women, I think empowerment being a focus in many organizations also. And we see
Hmm.
many houses also where people actually now start saying to their spouses or their daughters or their daughter-in-laws to please come and sit down and participate in the
Hmm.
discussion, which was actually not the case till a decade back.
That's a great
Things are definitely improving, huh?
reassurance.
Yes, you
That's
need a lot of further, there's a lot of huge scope of further improvement, but you really can't say anything that is not improving. It's
Yeah.
a step in the
perfect.
right direction.
That's absolutely amazing to
But
hear.
Sanjeev, statistics wise, if at all you talk about India, I'm sure not even in any organization you would not find many women working. And if you overall take the average or feedback, probably the numbers would be much lower, and we would be able to justify or say that yes, we can connect to what people perceived earlier. And
Hmm.
not because of, so people who are out, women who are out and working and who are aware, probably a lot has changed for them.
For
But
them. So this
yeah,
is the privileged one is the more, people who have achieved, we are talking about them, but there could be many,
more
many more in
exposure.
the society who are still, they need help on, right? I think we should do our bit wherever we can, all of us in our societies, families, communities, wherever we are. One last important thing I want to check, uh, with the aging, the lifespan getting bigger and bigger, right? Medically, you are alive for, the life expectancy has gone up and people stopped working at 60, right? That's one danger area that I see, that as society, that people post-retirement, how do they manage their finances, right? And so what do you see, Surya, a trend, people who come to you in your perception? I mean, the question that I'm asking is aging population, people who are nearing their retirement, post-retirement. What do you see? Are people really prepared to meet their next, say, 25, 30 years of life? Do they really manage it well, or it's a scary thing?
It is a scary thing, huh? Because that's one goal of your life, which actually is the most expensive goal. And that too at the time when you're not earning anymore.
Mhm.
And in some years from now, when you are retiring, you may not be even a capacity to earn. So that actually sounds scary if you have not planned it rightly. And but we always say that the most importance should be given to retirement goal. And this is actually a sacrosanct goal for us when we do a planning piece. The reason we say this is because, just to give a very simple example, if I have to pick up and choose between a retirement planning or let's say my child's education, even see that's also a sacrosanct goal for me, okay? And that too more so in India. But I will give far superior weightage and points to retirement planning than a child's education. Why? When the time comes, if I have only a small money part of me and I can say I can only contribute to, let's say, one of the goals, let's put it this way, which goal I go and why do I go? Simply because I will cater for my retirement and not for my education. Because when the time comes for education, I even have the bandwidth to take a loan and repay the debt off once my child gets educated. I know I don't want to put a burden on him or her, but then I can't help it. And also contribute from my side to repay that debt in whatever manner fashion I can do.
Mhm.
But I can't do the reverse way. I'll take a loan for my retirement.
True.
No one can fund me and no one will fund me. And then do I want to be dependent on my children? I don't think it's a great idea.
Okay, and I think the organizations also, Sunanda and Dr. Ankita, I mean, I'm sure people who are nearing the retirement stage, maybe 40, 50. I mean, I'm sure we have started helping them. I know we consult certain organizations who have come forward and asked, oh, we want to help our people who are nearing retirement, say maybe at the age of 50 plus, start helping them prepare for their retirement, right? Some organizations are doing, right? Because it may not help you as an organization very much, but it may help your employees in long term, their life post, your retirement post they exit the organization. So I think the organizations have responsibility in that section as well. So what's happening around that, Dr. Ankita? I mean, in your interventions, do you see other organizations doing something around this?
I think there is a restriction or there is a thin line. Not many organizations will go beyond a defined level
Hmm.
um, to support or openly talk about it because you don't know. It's all very unique and personal to the individual. Few may have planned really well, and few may they have a lot of people now. As we were talking about gig, earlier people used to stop early retirement or after retirement we are not doing anything but relaxing. Now most of the people today they'll think that okay, this is the time when I stop here, but I start something new. So it's very individual. Like I said, for one of the questions, the most important thing or the most responsible act from an organization's point of view could be ensuring that people are aware of the possibilities. You
Hmm.
should tell them what all you could do and what is the right time, and if at all by any chance you miss this, what are the alternatives. And this is what we have been doing.
Great. And Sunanda, anything from you in the meantime? We have few minutes left. I want to ask Kalyan if you can share. I have a couple of announcements and any comment, any question that you have from the audience. Please keep it ready. We'll ask you. So Sunanda, from you, anything you want to advise on the retirement planning? What organizations can do? Anything that Unilever is doing or you have thought about?
Yes, Sanjeev. Like Dr. Ankita has mentioned, organization perspective point of view, what we can best do is educate them and give out the options, lay out the options in front of them. But
Hmm.
ultimately, it's the individual choice.
Hmm.
It's the individual choice about how they are going forward. But making sure the organization telling the employee that we are here if you need any assistance on whatever the plan that you choose. We'll guide through it. That's definitely one approach, but ultimately
Correct.
it's the individual choice.
Correct.
Education
And that's a
and laying out the options is definitely our responsibility, but it's
correct.
both ways.
Correct. And I think we must educate people around us in the corporate or in the communities, families, because that's a very scary thing. People do not plan. I mean, that's my impression that very well, and the longevity is going up right higher and higher, which is good in a way. But with the poor financial planning and health, that it can become a scary thing. So okay, so I have a couple of announcements. If we can, Kalyan, go to the next page. So we, as enabling world, we have certain employee well-being calendar. You can download from, if you visit the website, you can scan it. What we have done, we have kept throughout the year the employee very different well-being calendar in terms of various events which are there in every month, and there could be some programs associated with that. You can download. There'll be link in the chat as well if you want to download. So we have done quarter by quarter, which are different events, health day, etc., and what could be well-being programs that we could conduct, we are conducting, which we could help you with. As an example, this is JFM quarter, right? So we have World AIDS Day or World Day of Handicapped or Sleep Day. There are different days nowadays. So we are helping with the different initiatives to the corporates. In case anyone is interested, you can scan and download the calendar. So that's one quick announcement we wanted to make. Also, there'll be you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. This session will be recorded and kept because it is very, very educational, educative, and for anyone who wants to know about financial well-being. So we'll keep it for anyone who could not join this session. You could also connect and with our LinkedIn account as well. Now, before I close, first of all, there'll be a quick survey, NPS survey on your screen. I would request all of you to take 30 seconds to respond to the survey, because your experience, your feedback will help us improve it every time, because every month we come with a different topic which we think will be interesting and will add knowledge to our community. So that's what we do. Before we end, I would sincerely thank all the panelists, Dr. Ankita, to you, to bringing that, the organization's perspective, what we can do and what we cannot do. So I think there's a myth that we can't do anything, but I think there's a lot organizations are doing already and should do to educate our employees to manage their finances very well. While the responsibility as onus is on us, but the organizations can also facilitate that process and educate. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts here. It was wonderful to have you. And Sunanda, thanks for joining as well. I know you are a medical professional, but I think the connect in the financial wellness and its impact on the stress, physical and mental health also is integral, is very direct. So thank you for sharing those insights and the best practice from Unilever. Thank you for joining. And Suryas, you are amazing, of course, as always. Your sharp and quick reaction to the queries and the comments and insights was very, very helpful. So thank you very much for joining, all of you. And thank you, audience. It was very engaging audience. So you had a lot of comments and the questions during the session. So I hope most of those were answered by the expert while we were talking. If it is not so, please write to us. We will make sure that your questions are answered. So with that, let me thank my team as well. Kalyan and team and Sushil for helping with this session, which went, I think, well. I personally enjoyed this session and learned a lot myself. And with that, let's close this session. And thank you very much. Stay well and stay financially well, sound. That's what the wish I can give to everyone. Money is never enough, but whatever we have, we should make best of it, right? And properly, sensibly plan that. With that hope and that wish, let's close this session, and we'll meet you with you next time that we're talking. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thanks, everyone. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.